Live and online, it's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski. In just a moment, we will be. How about now?
Back and better than ever, sonically sound with Steve on this Wednesday evening. Good to be with you. Shout out my boy Dominic, man in the controls today. But usually when he mans controls, that means we do not have the pleasure of seeing Joe Viso, which is categorically false tonight because Joe Viso is also in attendance. It is good to be in the company of gentlemen on this final week of August. Believe it or not. Next week's already Labor Day. This is kind of like the second to last or last unofficial week of summer. Vacation season. I know Joe and I are going taking vacations, different vacations. He doesn't want to spend any more time with me than he already has to. So we are taking separate vacations over here. But it is going to be a good show today because we are talking bodies. So nice, got to say it thrice. We are reviewing that movie. With a star-studded indie cast, a star-studded cast for nerds who pay attention to movies way too much and have them consume our lives because we recognize a lot of these actors. I don't know if the mainstream audience, mainstream movie-going public does. And then a staple, a fixture of this program back in its radio days on the inimitable WONC 89.1 FM is returning in, what was the countdown? What is it now? Like, what is it, about 13 hours, 12 hours, something like that? It's coming back.
We are currently at 13 hours, 27 minutes, and 5 seconds.
13 hours, no Michael Bay. Movie Pass is going to return very, very soon. And I don't know if I know much more about it than I did a week ago. But that's why we got Joe, who will hopefully explain, demystify as much as he can when the time comes. But that is on the way for the show today. First things first, though, Dominic, how are you on this final week of August?
I can't believe I'm here in every possible way. Physically, emotionally, just the fact that time is a constant and has beaten us to the curb. But yeah, dude, we are here now. It is almost September. And the year is almost over. Dude, what the hell? And it's, like literally we say that every year, but here we are again. Yeah, dude, that's I'm in a tizzy. There are things happening behind the scenes. That's why I'm not saying much. Some things you gentlemen don't even know yet that just happened, but we'll talk about that later.
Great. Are we live?
We are live. It is. We are live.
And they can hear us.
They can hear us.
And we are in living color.
We are. Well, no, we're in black and white. No, I'm kidding.
I was waiting for you to be like, oh, we're in sepia. Anyway, I trust Dominic. He's smarter. It would be we still be in the green room if I was running this. So I'm glad to have co-hosts that are smarter than myself. Joe, how are you hanging out in space?
I'm doing good. Work called. I had to do a last-minute mission up here real quick, repair a satellite. So that's why I'm here. You might be hearing the engine like move me around and everything. Don't mind that at all. I'm just gonna keep myself muted so that way, in case if it comes back on, it won't interrupt what you guys are saying. It'll only interrupt me when I want to speak or something. So I might be using the raise your hand feature built into Zoom throughout this whole thing. But I'm glad to be here because this is a movie I've been wanting to talk about. Because ever since I saw the trailer, I said, damn, that movie looks like fun. And also the return of something that I even brought up in our little group chat that we have. I literally texted, I think like 2 or 3 days ago, where the F is Movie Pass? And then next thing you know, I finally got news about it. So I'm looking forward to talk about it.
When he's up in the cosmos, he controls a lot of different things too. So we're grateful to have Joe, despite the obligations, intergalactically speaking, I would say. So it is good to have you guys on board today. Like I said, I got a loaded show full of good topics. We're going to start with Bodies, the brand new A24 film. And I got a little bit of a bone to pick with A24. I teased this last week to the guys. I got a slight rant about A24 because they have kind of dropped the ball recently. It is getting to the point now where even somebody like me who lives and breathes for movies has a hard time trying to figure out when the hell an A24 movie is going to come out. And I can't be the only one, because I saw a nice little Twitter discourse on this last week, which is what kind of prompted this. Bodies, 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 going off the numbers, the numbers.com, it was released in theaters on August 5th in very limited fashion. So that was only a handful of theaters. This is common with A24 movies. We've grown accustomed to that. And the release date, however, on all the trailers says August 5th. It doesn't distinguish the fact that that is only going to be available to like the coasts, LA and New York. August 12th then was the day it was supposed to expand wider. But that's deceiving in and of itself too, because a wide release in America is technically 600 theaters, which is not a lot of theaters. If you think about 50 states, that's not a lot of theaters, 600 theaters. That is mostly major metropolitans. If you figure 2 theaters in a metro, that's kind of how that works out for 600 theaters. But it was released in 1,200 in its second week. Now, to give you perspective, and I'm not trying to say Bodies, Bodies, Bodies deserves a release on par with Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick was in 3,000 its opening weekend. So, like, that's a substantial drop. But even like a movie like Halloween or something, you're getting over 2,000 theaters. Now, it might be a lot to ask to release a movie like this when it doesn't have many quote-unquote bankable stars. But finally then, on August 12th, I was livid. And these guys can attest to that. Because while I thought it might have been a little bit of a flash in the pan thing for my area to get Bodies, Bodies, Bodies in its opening weekend, I was even more mad that we didn't get Fall, but that's not A24's fault. So finally, it expanded even wider August 19th. But this created a lot of confusion online with the release date because A24 has really marketed this movie pretty well. I've seen a lot of YouTube ads for it. I've seen a lot of website banner ads for it. I've seen this movie pretty ubiquitously marketed online, even on TikTok as well. Yes, I do use TikTok. I'm not very proud of it most days. So currently, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is in 2,500 theaters. So confusion aside with that, the real crime was Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I didn't know this until last week. Did you know that Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, a movie that's trailer was attached to a lot of kid movies like The Bad Guys and Lightyear, never got released larger than 821 theaters? I had no idea about that. And I think that's kind of ridiculous, especially after seeing that Everything Everywhere All at Once was their first $100 million grosser. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On was one of the first like viral videos too in like 2010. That short film back in the day. I don't understand. I think they really missed the ball on a sleeper hit on this one. I really did on Marcel. I think that movie should have been much more popular than it was. I'm not saying it would have grossed Everything Everywhere numbers, but I do think that it would have at least netted more than 5.6 million, which is what it's ultimately at right now. And the only other thing I can compare it to is when A24 fumbled the bag with Come On, Come On, the Joaquin Phoenix movie from last year. That was marketed pretty intensely in theaters, attached to a lot of adult dramas through the holiday season. That peaked at 569 theaters.
There's a thing called Hollywood accounting, right? And that's a loaded term that comes with a lot of connotations, but in general, it's just the guessing game of what are these studios going to market, what are these studios going to actually invest in, and then what makes the return on investment, which, it's 50-50. A lot of times it's a major guessing game. A24 specifically, though, the accounting office, I just like to imagine it's a bunch of like dude bros in their late 20s, just like, vaping and just like, bodies, bodies, bodies. And then they just, it gives off the effect that they're kind of winging it, and they've gotten really, really, really lucky thus far. Effective, but occasionally they do, the dartboard that they're throwing, occasionally they do miss the dartboard entirely. And I think that was Marcel. So I don't know.
Yeah, and obviously they're again, they're not a production company. They're a distribution company. Mm-hmm. They know they have built a brand steadily on very high quality offerings, which is why it's sacrilege to criticize them in any way. And let me be honest, I got to see Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Probably another month or two, I'm going to see Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I'm still sleeping nights, and I'm still trusting A24 with a lot of things too. But on this one, it kind of got me realizing, and after what you just said too, A24 the crop, a good crop of those people would probably subscribe to AAA 24 if they were not employed by A24, like Joe and I over here. But they've been having a hell of a year. I can't hate. Now, hopefully, I don't have to revisit this discourse next month when they hopefully do not drop the ball on Pearl, because I'm dying to see that movie, the X prequel. All that being said, it's time to talk bodies, bodies, bodies. This movie is headlined by a lot of people we film nerds know. Amanda Stenberg, who I'm surprised has not gotten a bigger role recently, because she was in a movie, not to be confused with Everything Everywhere All at Once. She was in a movie called Everywhere Everywhere a couple of years ago. One of the better romantic comedies that was like romanticizing, like, it wasn't a disease, it was like hermetic behavior. That was a really good romantic comedy, and of course, nobody saw it. They'd rather go see Where the Crawdads Sing, but that's a different story. That was really good. She was also in The Hate U Give, which was kind of like a really underrated racial drama, but it was also like one big homage to like Tupac's philosophy. And I really liked that movie, The Hate U Give. So Amanda Stenberg, I guess you could consider her the headliner or the co-lead alongside Maria Bakalova. Borat's subsequent movie film, Where We At, people? Maria Bakalova continuing to make waves, hot off that Oscar nomination. Rachel Sennett, I might get in trouble for saying this. I'll say it. Rachel Sennett, she was in Shiva Baby, which is a really good movie. Okay, really good movie. She was the starring role in that movie. But man, I'm just gonna leave it at this, man. Rachel Sennett's got a body on her. That's all I'm gonna say.
God.
Anyway,
Come on.
She is also, I will get into a deeper analysis of that. She was also my favorite actor in this whole movie.
She was a standout. Everyone here is great.
Her ass off.
Everyone here is great because it's a really condensed cast. Because when you first start getting it, not to just hijack you completely, Steve. Sorry, but like, going into like the plot of this movie, you're thinking like, oh, okay, so like there's gonna be some sacrificial lambs. There's gonna be some, it's a mystery. It's a murder mystery, and you're thinking. Well, at least what I was thinking at first, it's like, there should be more people here. There should be some more sacrificial lambs just to see where we're going. But honestly, I like the approach of a more condensed version of this in terms of like the cast, right? Yeah, some people die earlier than others, but who we do get, it's all fleshed out and it's all very much, I appreciate it. And everyone here is I don't know if I'll say top of their game, but just like, if you look at a character, when you look at a character on screen, it's like, I know exactly what's going on with that person. Or at least let me take that back. It is right where they should be. And how they act is exactly how they look. It matches. There is no disparity whatsoever. I'll punt it back to you, Steve.
Yeah. Rounding out the cast, you got Pete Davidson, who, damn the haters. I like Pete Davidson. I'm not saying he can headline a movie where he's not a total prick, but I do think that he is a very fun actor, and I respect his hustle, and I find him kind of like antagonistically charismatic, if that makes any sense. Mahala Harold is also in this. Chase Sue Wonders and Lee Pace bring up the cast. There's also a brief appearance by Connor O'Malley. That is your cast right there. There's not many people in this movie, and I will say, you know what, for a horror movie. Because I don't want to get in, I think we were sold a bill of goods that this was going to be a slasher when it's not, which I'm not mad about personally. But as a horror movie, I did come away thinking that everybody here was humanized to an acceptable degree.
Yeah,
I could probably write a sentence or two on every character in this movie based on their personality type. I think we got to know most of them pretty well throughout, and also the fact too that I would never ever want to be in a room with anybody besides maybe Maria Bakalova's B. In this thing, I would not want to be in a room alone with anybody, and this makes me sort of happy that I do live alone. There's a decent amount to talk about with this movie. He hasn't said much. So, Joe, if you got a second for pull yourself away from the satellites, if you could maybe lead the discussion, general thoughts, bodies.
Yeah, I mean, like, you guys were kind of hitting on everything. I think the marketing for this movie was done really good, other than the fact that it was shown to be more of a slasher film. Really, this is more of a thriller. This is more of a comedy. And for me, I mean, up until like the last 30 minutes, it's that. But the last 30 minutes, it becomes a full-on drama. I mean, like, it turns like very quickly like, oh, this is actually getting really serious now and everything. This movie like really focuses on those kind of people out there in the world that are concerned about Instagram influence, fake friends, all that stuff. In fact, if you're subscribed to AAA 24, the magazine you got sent this month, I feel like is a perfect companion piece to this movie because it really does highlight like friend groups and the backstabbing that can happen there and everything, and these friends that you think you have, or you really popular kids and everything, and all those like house parties people go to and everything, and like how that like ugly they can turn, how toxic they can become. This movie's actually about all that stuff with people who are very young, and I thought one, it did it very funny. Like I love the language that they use. I love that they bring up a lot of like Gen Z words like you're being toxic. This is like my safe space, stuff like that. It's funny hearing that. I was with a pretty medium-sized crowd, and like everybody there was like around my age or even younger, and everybody was laughing whenever like people would bring those like words up or use them. I even had like a few females in the audience who were like, "Yes, bitch," when like somebody would call somebody out. So I had a great crowd to go see this with and everything. Yeah, I mean, like, and you guys are absolutely right too about the characters. Everybody here, like, you get a good feel for them. And Steve is absolutely right as well. I do not want to hang out with any of these people. I would maybe hang out with B, played by Maria Blakova, but that's about it. I don't want to hang out with anybody else because everybody else seems like they would backstab me, talk shit about me, or do something to embarrass me on purpose at this party or wherever I'm at with them, just because like that's who they are as a human being. And like that might sound like these people are really unlikable, and they kind of are, but that's also kind of the point with this story and these characters and what you're like being involved in there. And that's not to say you don't care about anybody by the end of this movie. I really did. There was people I wanted to see come out, but I mean, yeah, there's people in this movie. It's just like, dude, like you are honestly like that. Alice's character, played by Rachel Sennett, dude, she flip flops like a fucking burger, man. She's on your team one time, and then the next time someone brings up something, she's like, "Yeah, you know what? You actually did do that."
Sennett's like, funny as hell. She's funny as hell in this thing.
She is, man. If you're going into this, like I'm gonna tell you this right now because I've seen so many people be like, "This is not my cup of tea." If you watch that trailer, you hear the language that's being said, you see the cast. It's predominantly females. If you're looking at this like, I don't know if this is up my alley, just don't go see the movie. I'm telling you that right now because it's not going to change your mind about it. Like, because it doubles down on everything that you see in that trailer, basically. And I think it's for the best, too.
Tom, what say you?
Yeah, dude. It wears its Gen Z-ness on its sleeve. It is not afraid of that at all, and for the better. Because everyone here is so freaking fun and interesting. Not even likable. It's a diverse cast, but that doesn't mean that they all have to be good people.
Which is kind of refreshing in its own right.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's kind of that trope where it's like, oh, okay, we know that the person in color here is going to be fine, the trans person here is going to be fine, whatever, just because they'll survive.
It's like a better version of There's Something in Your House on Netflix.
Yeah, and it's even like a reversal on like how. Oh, like this character is only interesting because they are, because they're a person of color, because they're gay or whatever. It's like, no. And in fact, it's leveraged quite the opposite on a lot of the occasions. But yeah, dude, everyone here, right where they should be. Dude, I'm sorry. Look at the poster for this movie. Pete Davidson looks so freaking dumb, and I love it. Like that freaking sword that he's like trying to be a badass, hiding behind the sword, half his face, which is exactly like the point of that character. Like I love it, dude.
He knows who he is.
Exactly. Yeah, as you said, Steve, his not his grift, but like his shtick. He knows exactly what his lane is, and I appreciate the hell out of it. He can date whoever the hell he can date everyone in this cast, and like, yeah, that makes sense. Because it's Pete freaking Davidson. Be jealous. Be mad, Bryce. Joe, did you mean to raise your hand?
I did. I just wanted to say, like, yeah, I know Pete Davidson gets a lot of hate, but like he's one of those few comedians that has actually gone into the acting world that I don't hate seeing in movies over and over again. Like his appearance almost in everything. I mean, like even when he's leading like King of Staten Island, I'm like, yeah, the guy, like he could lead a movie. And I'm glad most of the time he doesn't because his little appearances here or there or his side supporting roles, I think he kills it most of the time, man. Like there hasn't been too many films with Pete Davidson that I go, oh my God, this guy again. It's like every single time he's on here, he just owns whatever character he's playing. He plays it to the max. He doesn't try to do some like comedic like shtick or like run on with like, probably jokes that didn't make it onto his like recent tour or something. No, he holds it down.
There's no riffing from him. Because you know how every SNL character that's in a movie, it's like they'll just bank on the fact that, oh, this person was on SNL. Give them like a 10-minute riff, and then we'll cut that down to like 3 minutes, and then that's like
literally the female Ghostbusters movie. I hate to say it, but that's what that movie is.
You're kind of right. The thing I hesitate to call Pete Davidson a lead. I had this conversation with one of my best friends who didn't want to see this movie, but begrudgingly did because I told him, I said, I think it's going to be better than you think. He saw it before me, and he was like, yeah, it's pretty decent. He's like, it's better than I thought it was. So I did sell him on this, but. The thing with Pete Davidson, we had a conversation about this, and I brought up too. I was like, I'm not ready to call him a lead actor because the only movie he's headlined was about his life, where he was essentially playing himself. Yeah. So I said, I don't know if he's a lead yet, but he's a damn decent supporting character. Even if he continues to play the asshole, he plays the asshole well. And he's amusing and he's funny and he gets some laughs. And I don't know if maybe the animosity towards him would be what it is if he didn't date Kim Kardashian for 9 months. I don't know if it would be at that level and had a war of words with Kanye West. I think the Kardashians taint almost everything they touch, at least in a perception sort of way. But I don't mind the guy. I think the guy's funny. I think he's funny, and like you said, I think he owns his character. And nobody has, outside of Judd Apatow for The King of Staten Island, but that was again about his life. Nobody's just outright that I've seen given him the movie. He still has to operate within the confines of the plot and everything. And I think he does very well. I actually think maybe for the first 2 drinks at a bar, he would be kind of fun to hang out with too.
Oh, 100%. But to the cast as a whole, like I think what makes this movie so entertaining is that everyone kind of knows these characters to some extent. Even if you're in high school, I know these characters are mostly in their mid-20s, but even if you're in high school, if you're in college, especially if you're out of college and you're a young adult, you're in that Scott Pilgrim age, you know these people, at least some of them, and it's an interesting life you lead. You may not know them when you're in your 30s. You may have drifted apart, maybe for the better at that point.
It's a good thing if you don't know these people in your 30s.
Yeah, oh my God.
Or are close with these people in your 30s,
These are the people that help you grow, and then you grow out of them, and they grow out of you, right? I'm not, no main character syndrome here. They grow out of you as well, let's be honest. But yeah, dude.
You're not like other guys.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, dude, there is some really interesting, thrilling techniques on how they approach the kind of murder mystery, shtick of this movie. And in some ways it's interesting. In some ways, how it meshes with its own comedy. It's pacing its own comedy. It didn't quite, perfect 10 stick the landing, but entertaining nonetheless. I don't know if that's a transition to other things, but I don't know where you guys wanted to take it from there.
I'll add this. There were stretches where I was a little bored. It does get a little monotonous. And I think part of the contribution to that is the power goes out very early. A lot of this movie is iPhone flashlights.
Yeah.
And some of that's like searching and wandering gets a little tiring, especially the darker it gets outside with the hurricane. The darker it gets, the more illuminated by flashlights it gets. And it's not like it's establishing this house as a character in itself. That is probably my most major criticism here. It's not the unlikable cast. It's the long stretches where it's just kind of dull and it's a lot of wandering. I don't know if either of you picked a bone with that.
To that point, actually, that's actually one of my main critiques is that the setting isn't quite a character. This is a murder mystery, but there's really not that much mystery to it. It's kind of a whodunit, but you can't really solve it on your own. Partly because, these characters are wandering in the dark in a house that does not establish itself very well. There's some set pieces like the pool, the living room, and that's about it. but this isn't a situation where it's like, oh, okay, we've passed this. You're not Primer. No, I don't know. All kinds of movies where it's not like, okay, we can retrace these steps and we can like time exactly.
It's a whodunit, but there's not any clue.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's no clues here, and you can't really deduce it. There's not a lot of. I don't think there would be a lot of rewatchability, at least from the perspective of trying to crack the case or put a timeline to everything, right? And
I think that,
go ahead.
I want to like jump on that as well, because that was the big criticism I had with this movie too, is that after the first confrontation of who they think it actually is, the movie kind of just slows down. Like there's really not much going on because you don't have any clues to go off of. You think like after that confrontation there would be clues and everything, but there's not. Like, I mean, it is just the only thing that's happening is that these relationships between the friends now are being tested even more. And that's fine and everything. And when you do get conversations, and I'm going to say this is like predominantly the second act of the movie, when you do have conversations that are leading to more of a fallout between this friend group, those parts work during the second act. But as these guys have been saying, when they're just walking around the house some more with just their iPhone flashlights or headlights, yeah, it's just like, man, like, I'm sorry, like, am I watching the same shot over and over again? Because nothing here looks different. Now, when you get to the third act, yeah, everything starts spicing up because now we're drawing to the very end and, you know, stuff is rising and whatnot. And I want to bring this up as well. I was cool with it. I thought it was a great twist ending. But I did hear people on my way out. This is not a critique against the movie for me. This is a disclaimer for anybody who hasn't seen this movie yet. The twist is either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. There really is no in between. I always hate when I hear people say that, like, you either love or hate this movie. There's no in between. It's like, oh, come on. No, with a twist like this, it really is one of those. It's either you're going to be like, that is great, or you're going to be, that is stupid, and I just wasted my time.
The reaction, I really like the twist here, but my only peeve was that it was with myself. I was like, you've watched 4,000 plus movies. You dumb jagoff. You should have seen this coming. You should have seen it. So I left kind of mad at myself for kind of buying in a different way. I enjoyed the twist though. I really did. I really did. The only thing it was missing was the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme song.
And not to like brag or anything, but like thinking about, because like when I'm in those moments, like in the middle of this movie where I'm thinking like, what is it? Who is it? How do they do it? My mind starts racing as to all these kinds of possibilities. Sometimes I get it. Sometimes I get it. Sometimes I don't. This time I actually kind of did. And to that effect, I love it. I'm totally, or maybe not even love it. I'm totally cool with it. I did not hate the twist ending. Because I actually did think of it. I'm like, how are they going to accomplish this? I'm being very vague here, obviously, because it's kind of a clutch. But you know, how are they gonna accomplish this? Okay, cool. It was that. But
it got a good laugh. It got a good laugh out of me in an empty theater.
Exactly. It's
sorry. I mean, I was in, like I said, I was in a medium-sized theater, and I was laughing. I was clapping at the twist of it, and I heard one girl go, "Are you effing serious?" just out loud, and then like on the way out, like she was just complaining the entire time while we were leaving the theater. I wasn't with them or anything, but I was slowly just like walking behind them, probably looking like a total fucking creep. But I just wanted to know what they were thinking about the movie.
She was Rachel. She was Rachel Sennett. She was Rachel Sennett in college.
I was just gonna say that.
I'm sorry.
The thing with me too is like maybe the twist would be more accepting to people if there was like some actual clues. And then the twist comes and it just like throws you, like it pulls the carpet from beneath your feet. But because this movie for so long is just like saying one thing and it pulls the carpet out literally the last like 10 seconds of this movie. Like you're either gonna be like, oh, what the hell, or you're gonna be like, oh, okay, that is great. I don't want to say too much more because I feel like if I go any further, people might be able to figure it out or anything, but I'm going to leave it as that.
It's really the difference, to the point I was making earlier, it really is the difference between, I don't know, a lecture where a professor guides you along every single point and then you just have eureka, that all makes sense. As opposed to, I don't know, just like someone showing you the answers to a test where it's like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. It would have felt, a lot of this movie would have had way more impact, particularly ending, if I had been brought along. If I had been made to feel more clever as opposed to just shooting blanks here. And now I do realize that this movie tried to. I don't know if it tried to. I think it's safe to say it tried to set out on two things. One is that you have a cast of characters that are very interesting, and they all turn on each other, and what happens there. And I think it accomplished that pretty much with flying glow stick colors. But on the other hand, because they're setting up this game, bodies, they're implying a heavy mystery. They're trying to crack the case, before things start going haywire. So when you're brought along with that too, and the movie just does not do that maybe we're all too stupid here to understand the clues that were being dropped. I don't think it's that. I really think the movie just did not quite give us the breadcrumbs necessary, or what breadcrumbs it did, it didn't communicate effectively enough. Kind of getting into the nitty gritty of it, but at the end of the day, I think all three of us are feeling that.
Yeah, I did. Like I said, I enjoyed the twist. I got a laugh out of me. And I also love when movies pull the carpet out from under you and then the credits roll in about 15 seconds.
Yes.
I've more often than not really appreciate that. I like that that little tactic that movies do pull, because it's a ballsy tactic, because you're gonna get divisive reactions. This movie probably does not have the higher. Go on.
It also just feels like something that an A24 movie would do to you. Like, it's just like, if you know A24 by now, like that is something that you should like always keep on your mind. Like, this movie might just like literally just say something totally different in the last 10 seconds and they go bye, and then that's it.
Yeah, or we didn't review Men on the show. We didn't review Men, but if you've seen Men, or you'll just see that climax, and I don't want to go any further than that. You'll just be if it doesn't pull the rug out from under you in 15 seconds, it'll subject you to 25 minutes of some of the most disturbing shit you're going to see in a movie theater this year alone. So
yeah, kudos to Bodies here. It could have pulled the rug and then like had 10 more minutes of them like sulking over what happened, or no. You make your point.
It didn't go for the uplift. It didn't go to the uplift.
Make your point, get out, hit the audience, and then they'll critique it afterwards. They absolutely will, but just maximum impact. Make it happen.
That's what it is. It's maximum impact. We're flirting with the intermission here, but I'll go for a couple more minutes, or we'll go for a couple more minutes, I should say. This thing does play a risky game, though, in that, like, it is ultimately a satire on Gen Z, because these characters are kind of like they're the worst qualities of Twitter users in human form. That's how I described it in my review at StevePulaski.com. It plays a risky game, though, in satirizing that demographic, but it also wants that demographic to go see it. It's pretty much us. Like, we're on the cusp. We're on the dividing line. Like, sometimes I wake up a millennial. Some days I wake up Gen Z. It just depends. You know what I mean? But we're on that dividing line there. Dom's I think more of a millennial.
I call myself the last millennial and the first Gen Z.
That's probably what I'm going to use from now on. But like, it plays a risky game in satirizing that demographic, but also wanting them to come to the theater. And I don't think that marketing this thing as a slasher really helps. I met a friend this weekend and I was telling her about it because she's stoked to see it. And I told her, I was like, it's not a slasher. And she was like kind of shocked by that. And I'm like, yeah, this is one of the few marketing misses from A24, is that it's not. I think it's through and through a whodunit. Whether it's an effective work of the genre, I don't think it's as effective as it could be, but it's not a slasher. And I think if you go in expecting something like that, you're going to be disappointed ultimately. Yeah, and it wasn't like a thing where it was like, oh, that's the twist, is that that's not that. It was a misrepresented marketing move. One other irrelevant point: Lee Pace, who plays the significantly older boyfriend of Alice, Rachel Sennett. He plays Greg in the movie. This is totally random. I got one amen on this from another person who saw it, and that's it. And I want to know your guys, as we flirt with intermission and then come back, probably give our closing thoughts on this too. Certain angles of this movie with Lee Pace in it, who I thought was kind of funny, as stupid as he is. Did he not look to you like Kirkland's signature Aaron Rodgers in a couple angles? He really looks like Aaron Rodgers, I think, like the recent new wave Aaron Rodgers with the shaggy hair. I dated Shailene Woodley and now I'm dating an Avatar woman.
Maybe
you know
not
what
new
I mean?
Wave.
Like,
I'm not familiar with new wave Aaron Rodgers, so I didn't quite get that effect. I did enjoy.
He hasn't showered and he tries ayahuasca like that new wave Aaron Rodgers.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised if Lee Pace studied Aaron Rodgers now that you said that.
He kind of looks like him at certain angles, too. I got one amen on it so far. I think at certain angles, he kind of looks like Kirkland's signature Aaron Rodgers.
I don't disagree. I'm just not informed enough on the Aaron Rodgers lore to really make.
I see it twice a year for 3 hours on a Sunday, and I'm sickened.
Now I want a remake of this movie where he goes to a hurricane party with Shailene Woodley and her like actor friends, and this happens.
I'll quote my best friend here. My best friend said, if they made an Aaron Rodgers biopic, I would not watch it in 100 lifetimes. But you know what? If they casted Lee Pace, I'd be like, yeah, it's a good fit.
Leave it to Steve to have, out of the 7 characters in this movie, 5 of which are women, you're focusing on the 40-year-old dude. Like,
he looked like Aaron Rodgers in certain scenes, too. It wasn't as bad as another Rachel Sennett movie. It wasn't as bad as Shiva Baby when Polly Draper plays her mother in the movie and Polly Draper shows up and I'm sitting alone in my apartment in that recliner back there watching TV by myself at like 4 o'clock on a Monday. And I say to no one, oh, no way. That's the mom from the Naked Brothers band. Holy crap. And that, my friends, is why I need to get out more. We will take, I guess, a Zoom-sponsored intermission before I really go off the rails over here. We'll come back, probably give our final thoughts on Bodies, any closing thoughts that we have on this movie, too. I seem to think we're all kind of in general agreement about this thing, maybe some nuances aside. But we will return, and we also, Joe is going to lead us in discussion, lead the prayer circle over here, over the return of one of the hallmarks of this show since its radio days. You don't want to go anywhere. The best, I think, is yet to come. Sleepless with Steve will be back in about 90 seconds, live on YouTube. We are back on Sleepless with Steve. It is live on YouTube after our Zoom-sponsored intermission. Talking bodies, so nice. You got to say it thrice. Mentioned her yet. I think we're all just intimidated by how to pronounce her name, but it is, I believe, Helena Rhine, I believe is how you say her name, is the director of this, working off a screenplay by Sarah DeLapp and Kristen this is the name that's going to trip me up. Rupnian, I believe is how you say it. She wrote the story, like a spec script of it, and then Sarah DeLapp took it and ran with it with the screenplay. But I enjoyed this movie enough, on top of just a few stretches of dullness, and I also don't think the movie makes any sort of like significant commentary on Gen Z, other than that they can be kind of heartless, narcissistic, and very self-interested. I don't think there's a lot that this movie says about Gen Z. Where, Dom, you didn't see Men, did you? Alex Garland's movie? Yeah, Joe and I remember did. I compare it back to Men, where that Men was sloppy at times, but Men had a message, and it was a graphic message. It's still, I haven't seen Crimes of the Future yet. I'm saving that one for Halloween. But I think, though, that Men, as kind of like grotesque as that last 20 minutes is, it does make a very solid point. It does make a pretty solid point, as grim as it is. But with bodies, I don't know. And it's always, I hate using this expression, but I don't know if it has anything real significant to say. But contrarily, when a movie doesn't, I perceive a movie not to have really anything significant to say, but it's at least entertaining and it's got some good performances. In this case, Maria Bakalova, I think Stenberg and Sennett are standouts too. When it at least has good performances and it's an entertaining watch, that can be enough for me. And it was enough for me here, which is why I give it 3 out of 4 stars. I did enjoy this movie. I don't think it's going to be on an A24 highlight reel in 40 years. I truly don't. But I got my money's worth out of this thing, and I do like. And I really like seeing a lot of these people, again, as unlikable as they are. Chase Sue Wonders, too. We didn't talk much about her. I really liked her as kind of like this wimpy girlfriend. Who like almost like in a cold way, in a cold caustic way, dies before she can kind of get anything close to any sliver of redemption. And Rachel Sennett, I think Rachel Sennett was probably my favorite performance here as well. I thought that she was like a hot mess express, manic explosion of energy in a lot of ways. So it's 3 out of 4 stars for me. We'll go Dom, then Joe to send us home on Bodies.
Yeah, dude, the fact that this movie isn't like, the defining commentary on Gen Z, I don't think it was really trying to be that at all, and that's perfectly fine. If anything, it might say something just by virtue of just, the style in which it did it. Which isn't really definitive of Gen Z, but more so just a fun way to look at a murder mystery, whodunit. But in the style of Gen Z, where people say, this is so toxic, I have body dysmorphia, which was the biggest laugh of the show. That's a horrible line in the vacuum, but the way they used that line was so good. Yeah, dude, this movie rides 100% on its cast and how the characters interact with each other. Everything else might be lacking a pretty decent amount, at least in terms of what it could have been, at least compared to, I should say, where the cast is and where the characters are. But just on that alone, it actually managed to get just trek into the 3 out of 4 star range, just because, even when it gets into like an exposition dump during the climax, I should say, for a couple characters, and it's like, okay, where did that come from? It's just so damn entertaining. I'll definitely be looking up some clips of this and going like, damn, yeah, that exchange was really damn good. And it certainly should be on a highlight reel for all these actors. 3 out of 4 for me. Joe?
I'm kind of just piggybacking off of what you guys all said. I mean, it is one of the A24 films that, like, why I remember, like, why I bring it up. It's like, oh man, this is what this studio is known for. I don't think so, but it is something that I did enjoy and had a fun time with. You guys basically hit on every point that I was going to wrap up here. I do like the cast. I think they did a great job playing the characters they were given. I think the script can be funny. And I did really enjoy the dramatic turn of the third act, because, if it didn't take that dramatic turn and it tried just to be as comedic and, as it was throughout most of that second act, I think this film would have just kind of been boring, and maybe that final twist would have paid off even less for people like us. But yeah, for me, it is also 3 out of 4 stars.
Very good roundup over here for Bodies. Worth watching, worth checking out, and kind of wish they would have saved it for October, truthfully, if I'm being really serious over here. I kind of wish they would have saved it for October, but beggars can't be choosers in that realm. I am going to let Joe lead the discussion on this one if he is willing and able, because a staple of this program has returned out of fat air. I have my own thoughts on it, but I want to hear Joe, because I know Joe, again, it couldn't have been more serendipitous. Messaging the chat a week ago, asking where this was at after some of the rumblings about it. And now we have an answer. And Joe, would you tell us that answer and what we're talking about here?
So yes, to give context once again, a few days ago, I messaged our little group chat that we organized the show in. And I literally asked, I'm like, we talked about MoviePass returning in the summer. It's now August. It's about to be fall. Where the hell is this thing? And literally I sent that message, and it's just like, literally, I feel like at their corporate office, they went, oh my God, we missed our mark. and they just quickly scrapped something together. Like, just put a countdown on the website, And next thing you know, in a few days, a countdown appeared on the MoviePass website telling people to join the wait list, which I did. And if you're not familiar with MoviePass, it is part of the Steve Pulaski's Sleepless with Steve lore, where Steve and I, where Steve and I subscribed to it late 2018. I'm sorry, no, early 2018, and we abused the ever living hell out of this thing. Where we saw like at least I think my movie going experience like this year, it's like my standard rate where it's like right now I think I'm at like 36 movies or whatever. If I movie pass at this point, I probably would have been like at 80 movies because I would just see movies just for the hell of it. And while yes, I do have something like AMC Stubs, or AMC Plus, whatever the hell it's called that I have.
AMC Stubs A-list.
Thank you, A-list. That's what it is. Even though I have that, the convenient thing about MoviePass was you got to use it at any theater chain. And I unfortunately don't live any close to any AMCs. I just have A-list because it's just like anytime I go see any of those like big blockbuster movies, I typically will go see them in IMAX or Dolby, and A-list will basically just cover that if I see 2 or 3 in a month. But that being said, MoviePass finally has set a Labor Day return with a tiered pricing and a waitlist for subscribers to join. The subscription service will reopen tomorrow, actually, with a waitlist posted on its website at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And the prices of this tier list go between 10, 20, and 30. And each subscription option will give the user credits to cash in each movie to see movies. Now, I haven't really broken down that part yet. We don't know if it's like, hey, if you pay $10 a month, you can see 1 movie a week, or you can see 1 movie a month. We still don't know what the whole thing is, because the original thing was $10 a month, and you can see a movie each day. I mean, like this thing, like I said, Steve and I, like we probably were the reason why this thing went bankrupt.
Yeah, that ain't. Everybody's disappointed. That ain't coming back, man. That ain't coming back. After those venture capitalists got hosed and we got to have the year of our life, that ain't coming back, man. I am sorry to report.
Yeah, it sucks, and like they're now in a more competitive field, a field that has kind of laid the foundation now with the Alamo Drafthouse, AMC, and even Cinemark having create their own membership programs to those theaters where you get like a certain amount of tickets each month. So they haven't said specifically yet anything about that. We'll probably find out more tomorrow. The CEO, though, Stacy Spike, said this, and this to me, look, I want MoviePass to succeed. I miss it. I loved using it. And I would love it because it's just like I literally have 2 theaters by my house that don't have any subscription-based service, and this would help me a ton when it comes to go see these movies. But Spike spoke out and said, we're going to make mistakes. We're not going to get it right out of the box. It's going to be a trial and error run.
Oh, the investors are going to love hearing that.
I get it. Like, even on the website, if you go to the website where it has the countdown currently, it even says MoviePass beta. Like, and it's just like, it's not the best sign. And it's like, I want to try it. I want to give it a chance. But, like, I'm, like, hesitant to even dip my toe in the water compared to, like, last time we did this. And maybe with the reason why Steve and I eventually joined is because we reported so many stories where we were like, this thing sounds stupid. Oh, hell, it's giving smaller movies an actual chance at the box office now. People are going to see them. All right, like, it's actually a minor success. Maybe we'll check it out. Maybe as time goes on and this becomes another Mount Rushmore story of Sleepless with Steve here, we can find out. Maybe we'll all take a dive in, or maybe Steve and I will jump back into the pool and find out what's going on in MoviePass world.
Let me say something here. This thing comes back, is poised to come back at what I think is a horrible time for 2 major reasons. One of which Joe already noted, the depth of competition. I'm not even going to get into it. I don't think it's remotely close right now that AMC Stubs A-list is the model. I don't think it's remotely close where you can see up to 3 movies a week for about $20 a month. In any format. Fathom events exempt. And $20 a month, it's a little more if you want to cross state lines, which really kind of screws me over here because it's like I'm a stone's throw from Illinois. So like I'm kind of like caught in a weird middle over here. But moreover, though, there's the depth of competition. Here's the other thing. They had all this time, and when are they going to launch? these next couple of weekends, and box office analysts have been projecting it, this is going to be a maybe not pandemically slow time, but this is a Hollywood initiated drought right now when it comes to major releases. I'm going to briefly give you some of the major wide releases in the next couple of weeks. This weekend you got The Invitation, which looks like another derivative late August horror movie. You have 3,000 Years of Longing, the new George Miller movie, which I don't think has a ton of commercial appeal. I could be wrong. I don't think it has a ton of commercial appeal. I think it's a film nerd movie with a very lofty budget. Next week, which is Labor Day, which is a traditionally crappy movie weekend, which is just, of course, that Honk for Jesus Save Your Soul is going to get a wide release, which really sucks because I'm a fan of that movie, and I hope we're going to review it in a couple of weeks if we're willing and able. Then we keep marching on. September 9th, you got one wide release in the movie Medieval with Ben Foster, which, truth be told, I haven't even heard of until just now, and I live for this shit. There's an action drama called Medieval coming out in 2 weeks. News to me, Michael Caine's in it too. There's also Barbarian with Bill Skarsgård and Justin Long, which I want to see. I don't know how many other people want to see. And then keep going. I'm only going to do it through the month of September. You got The Woman King with Viola Davis on September 16th. You got Pearl with Mia Goth, which I know we're excited about. God's Country with Thandie Newton as well, which doesn't even have its own Wikipedia page. That's a good sign. Finally, you have September 23rd, Don't Worry, Darling. But that is even concerningly tagged as a limited release on that weekend. That's concerningly tagged as a limited release. So there's a good chance we're probably not going to see that until October. You know what I think has a good chance of succeeding in the month of September? It's the re-release of Avatar that comes out September 23rd. I'm serious. I don't know what else here has massive commercial appeal. I want to see a handful of these movies that I just mentioned, but not a lot of these movies people have heard of. I just named 2 movies coming in wide release that I barely know anything about. And MoviePass is going to try to launch this now. This is a terrible time to launch.
They really should have just waited till fall. They should have just said, hey, we're going to do it during fall. Because at least with fall, October, you have Halloween Ends. And while you can watch that on Peacock, which was a recent thing that just came out, you also have Black Adam. Okay, that's a blockbuster you can bank on. You also have November with Black Panther. You also have
Amsterdam.
Yeah, you have
Amsterdam. Smiles, a horror movie right in time for October. Bros, we don't get many live action comedies anymore.
The Avatar sequel, and you have all the Christmas releases with Puss in Boots and all the other blockbusters that were come out for Christmas time. They really should have waited for that, or if they were like, screw it, push it back just one more year and wait until that late March, early April blockbuster season with John Wick Chapter 4, Scream, Mario. Man, I just named 3 movies that literally come out one after the other that would have been perfect for this. Guardians of the Galaxy, Fast X. Jesus Christ, you guys probably should have just waited another year.
Dom, what say you about the return of MoviePass?
It's like they intentionally tried to fail, but
which is so very MoviePass.
Dude, that's exactly it. At this point, the MoviePass brand is just that immortalized College Humor sketch. Where it's the MoviePass CEO trying to make money and just trying to sell movie passes, and he just cannot catch a break. That is the stigma around this freaking service. It cannot shake it. It will not shake it. Seriously, if you haven't watched it, please go watch it. If you look up MoviePass CEO, that's the first thing that comes up. But yeah, dude. I don't really have much else to say other than imagine saying your first big statement, the hype train coming out of this with a countdown timer on your website. And the public statement that you say is, or at least preempt it with, this is the trial and error. Son of a bitch, your trial and error was the whole first time you errored on this thing.
That was Mitch Lowe's problem.
Are you kidding me? I understand you got kind of a new crew. Not really, because the Deadline article said that it's hiring former employees, but you've got new leadership. You've got some new blood in here. But dude, you're still unless you are coming up with an incredible model or system that will, end the commodification of of resources and products in and of itself, everyone knows you're talking mad shit. Or you even like meekly. That's the pathetic part. Like you're meekly trying to come back into the game with nothing but as a former hot rod here. But anyway, Joe, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry. But man, no, I mean, I'm literally, I continued looking at the 2023 like summer release. Dude, you guys really should have waited. Indiana Jones, The Flash, Mission Impossible.
Indiana Jones? Wait, what?
Yeah, Indiana Jones 5, 6,
yeah,
whatever
Jesus
it is.
Barbie, Oppenheimer, The Marvels, another Teenage Mutant Ninja. Dude, you guys should have waited. Honestly, like I was like, okay,
they're not going to make it. They're not. I don't know how they're going to make it over here. It's going to be a tough storm.
Maybe you should have pushed back to the fall release. No, screw that, dude. You should have waited. I'm telling you right now, March 23rd should have been I'm sorry. March 10th. Screw it. Open up for Aquaman. Let Aquaman be like your testing trial period, or Ant-Man. Dude, literally next year.
Well, you probably wanted to, I would say, open in February. That way you can work out the bugs for a couple maybe more chill weekends before everybody and their brother wants Aquaman tickets. That's what I would have said.
February, you have Ant-Man and the Wasp. There's a good movie to test it with. Dungeons and Dragons and Creed 3. There you go. 3 like very different blockbusters, 3 different types of audiences. Would have been perfect to test with. Instead, now you're going to test with the September like dumpster that we have coming up until Don't Worry, Darling. And then if Steve's like, thing is true that he brought up where that's getting a limited release, then you're just pushing yourself even farther into October.
Yeah, it's going to be a tumultuous ride because, again, there's a couple of box office analysts that have talked about, like, this is going to be pandemic level miserable these next couple of weeks. And, like, whose gain it really is? It's Top Gun Maverick, which is still making money. And at this point, it's making money off of second and third viewings at this point. Everybody who's seen it now has seen it.
Hey, Joe, real quick. Sorry, Joe. Just be careful while you're up there in space because Tom Cruise's net worth might go way past you at supersonic speeds at the rate, that this is, or at the rate that movie's going.
Oh, God, dude, I better get back down to Earth long.
But yeah, like at this point, though, even now, like the newbies, here's the thing, and I don't mean to undermine the fans over here of this particular series. It was originally going to be the topic of the show today. Dragon Ball Super does not top the box office if it ain't a drought. Like, these movies have made that studio has made some pretty good sleeper hits. That doesn't top the box office if nothing significant has come out, or if nothing really noteworthy butts and seats has come out. You know what it'd be a perfect time for right now? Let me just say this. I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer, and I'm not arguing that this looks like a good movie because I don't think it does. Have you guys seen the trailer for that George Clooney movie that's coming up, Ticket to Paradise? Have you seen the trailer for that? It looks like a really crappy movie your mom would probably like, and I'm going to go see it opening weekend. But that movie should be coming out like the first week or like the second week of September or now or something, because it's coming out in the middle of October and it's going to wind up trying to be counter programming to some bigger movies. That needed to get bumped up. Hollywood really did this to themselves and really initiating this drought period for some reason. I don't get it.
All I was going to say is just a side comment that congratulations to the team that made that Dragon Ball Z movie. I haven't seen it.
Tip of the cap. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Crunchyroll and all that stuff. But like, yeah, they earned it. They definitely earned the top of the box office. But they know it's like, yeah, we got it because nothing's happening.
I'd be celebrating. Right, believe me, if I was an animator on that, I'd be celebrating a dub. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But again, there were other mitigating circumstances here that like the nerds like us are going to say, but man, number one's number one, no matter how you slice it, man. So no, I no hate, man. I read a couple really long pieces about that movie and like the production strategy, because that Demon Slayer movie they made did pretty well too.
Yeah, dude, I've been so out of the anime game for so long, but still, man, congratulations to them. And I cannot wait to see where freaking Movie Pass winds up. You know that scene in Top Gun Maverick where where the birds take over the jet, and then it's like, oh my God, we have to eject. That's literally, it's gonna be that for these next 6 weeks, man.
Maybe Movie Pass will contribute to Top Gun making another like $50 million.
They can't like, dude. But like, the only scenario I can think of is that they're either really that bad at timing, or they literally had no other choice. It's like, we have to launch now to make some kind of return, like right now.
That could be a thing too,
And
I'm not ruling that out.
As something that's trying to make a comeback, it's possible.
It is called a beta. I mean, Dom and I are more skeptical when we see betas because we played video games that are called betas, and really it's the full release. So maybe, they're using this period as their beta period, to where maybe next year for 2023, they are like, hey, that's it. Like, this is it. Like, this is our tiered plans and everything. If they're anticipating the fail, I hope they have fail safes then. That's all I have to end with.
I'm going to say this. I'm not getting it, because right now I live within a mile of an AMC. And I have AMC Stubs A-List, and I have been nothing but satisfied with A-List. I've been nothing but satisfied with it. It's stupid. It's almost financially irresponsible for me not to have it.
Yeah, it's a great tool. It really is. It's like, if
constantly
you are a moviegoer, And then the best part of that app too is, if you have friends, you can add them into like an entourage party, is what they call it. And you can reserve tickets for them. I mean, like, it is a fleshed out, perfectly working app that MoviePass is probably gonna come in and just be like, I mean, I guess you can see a movie today. Take a photo for us, would you?
It's so true. Yeah, you could go see that movie, but it's going to cost you another $4 on top of your subscription. Man, that Movie Pass era. There's a great meme, and I want to end with this. If I was smart, I would have sent it to you, Joe. There's that great meme of that young woman helping the older lady, and she was like, "When I was a kid, I paid $10 and saw unlimited movies. That's nice, Grandma. Let's get you back inside." Nobody's going to believe us, man. We got to preserve those debit cards, because nobody's going to believe our asses when we talk about that thing like 40 years from now, whatever the landscape.
Do you have it? Do you guys have it?
I have mine.
Okay. Frame it.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Frame it. Frame it right next to Cha Cha Real Smooth.
I got so much other crap on this desk and like stuff that's tacked on the wall over here. I don't understand why I don't have it like resting on one of these push pins.
I don't know. I don't see it in my wallet. I don't know why I would carry it in my wallet in the first place, but I wouldn't be surprised if I actually ended up shredding that thing.
I know it's I have it. I might have to flash the red over here the next time.
I got my AAA 24 car.
Oh, look at that, fresher than a dentist visit, cleaner than a health inspection. I am not renewing that. I'm just gonna say that much. I am just gonna say that much. I got what I wanted. That's our show. We're actually kind of ending on time for once in our lives. Next week, we might get stuck seeing Beast, or we might review, and I hate to say it because I'm not going to have time to see 3,000 Years of Longing, and I would rather discuss that. But the problem is my schedule. The only thing is, though, have you guys seen Beast yet? Have you guys seen it?
No.
We might have to come with a pretty heavy news topic because I don't have a ton to say about it. My review's been up now since it came out. I liked it, but I don't have a ton to say about it. So I think tentatively now we'll review Beast, though, and then maybe come with like a lofty news topic. Maybe even do 2 news topics. That's how much time I think we can get Beast taken care of in our first half of the show. I really think there's not a ton to that movie to really discuss. You know, when Steve Pulaski writes like a 5-paragraph review on a new movie, and 2 of which is the plot, there ain't a lot to discuss with it, good or bad. But that we'll burn that bridge, that Golden Gate Bridge, when we come to it. That's our show tonight. I want to thank Joe Viso for being remote and still being able to make the show, and no technical issues I noticed on my end. Real couple glitches in the very beginning, but that was when I was babbling. But yeah, really appreciate the effort, Joe. Really appreciate your presence. And Dom, I want to thank you again for running the show tonight as well. We're back next week to talk Beast, which I think is on the last day of August too. So we still got a little bit more August left to burn. We'll be back next week along with maybe 1 or 2 news topics, depending on what falls in our lap. For Dominic Guanzon, Joe Viso, and yours truly, this has been Sleepless with Steve.